Israel's military assault and invasion of Gaza has triggered a sperm war. Between the 7th of October and the 15th of November 2023, Tel Aviv has extracted sperm from 39 bodies of dead Israeli soldiers and stored them for future fertilization. Since the bombing campaign began, the Ministry of Health has been racing to acquire usable bodily fluid from those killed in action. Posthumous sperm retrieval is a deeply controversial issue globally, with some countries like France, Germany, Canada and Sweden banning the practice. The UK allows for sperm harvesting after death if the deceased gave clear approval before passing away. But in Israel, the debate has taken on a new urgency. Before the 7th of October, a court approval was needed to carry out this procedure. But since the fighting began, the Health Ministry has temporarily suspended the need for court approval. So, how does it work? Posthumous sperm retrieval has been possible since the 1970s, and existing medical literature says sperm can survive between 24 to 72 hours after the donor's death. The sooner the procedure begins after a person loses their life, the greater the chance of finding living sperm cells. According to the Israeli authorities, there is a 75% chance of finding usable sperm in the first 24 hours. Extraction techniques include using a needle, where a needle is inserted into the testes and sperm is sucked out. Another method is the surgical removal of a coiled tube behind each testes, called epididymitis, and separating the sperm from the tissue. Another option is rectal extraction. Once living sperm has been identified and removed, it is then cryogenically stored. The main issue with sperm harvesting from the deceased are more legal and moral rather than technical. Over the last few decades, Israel has mulled over legal changes to make it easier for the procedure to be carried out. Before 7th of October, Israel largely operated on a decision issued in 2003 by the then Attorney General, which said that unless contested by the deceased while alive, or if a family member raises an objection, the deceased's consent can be presumed. The presumption of wanting progeny was conditional on the deceased having a spouse or a regular partner. Over the last few decades, parents of dead soldiers who were single have campaigned to have the right to preserve their son's sperm. A court order was needed in these cases. Even if granted, there are still obstacles when it comes to using that sperm in the future. As no legislation existed, a court had to decide if there was evidence that the deceased wanted children. One father, Baruch ben Yigal, who has campaigned to have a new law introduced, says at least 5,000 Israeli women have expressed an interest in his dead son's sperm. Draft legislation had passed its first reading in the Knesset in May 2023, which not only laid out the partner's right to use her dead partner's sperm, but also recognised the parents of the deceased's right to request sperm to be used by a surrogate mother if the living partner is not interested in having children. As of the 21st of November 2023, this has not yet become law. But after the 7th of October, Israel's Health Ministry temporarily suspended the currently used legal mechanism until the end of November to make it easier and faster to extract sperm after death. Parents can now request sperm without the need of a court order. The ministry also set up a 24-hour special unit that coordinates with the military to quickly contact the families of the deceased and move sperm to the relevant locations. Birth rates have always been deeply political in Israel. Fears of Palestinians having too many babies and a possible drop in Israeli birth rates have driven policies designed to incentivize Jewish Israelis to have more children. Currently, Israel has a very high birth rate, with the average Israeli woman having 3.1 children, well ahead of the UK, France and Italy. Posthumous sperm retrieval is one way to keep the population growing.